Welcome to Sketches from Shar's World. These are stories that I have written that renew the mind. I have learned from so many people in my life, whether they were young or old, or rich or poor, or righteous or unrighteous. I found there was always something to glean from my experiences with them. And most times, something to smile about, something to laugh about. In this episode, I want to tell you a little bit about my background in becoming a writer. And then in following episodes, I'm going to tell you some of the stories. Um, Rounding up pigs is nearly impossible unless you have pig boards. Pigs, they run, they squeal, and they dodge the herder. And I know because I've lived on farms my life, although I was born in the city. The pigs will knock you around if you don't have firm footing. I know because I've raised these pigs and it was always a circus trying to get them moved from one place to the other. And the only way we could do it was to have two persons, each with a 3x4 plywood board, to block and guide the pigs to the areas that we wanted them to go. When I take a broad look at my life, I can see so many times when I was like a rambunctious pig wanting to go and do what I wanted to do. I also see the loving and patient guidance of the Almighty with virtual pig boards, blocking some paths and opening escape routes to save me from self-destruction. It is only now in my life that I can write my story. I needed to come to an understanding of my relationship with Jehovah, that's God's Hebrew name, and to walk out my faith in Yeshua, Jesus' Hebrew name. Before that happened, this book would only have been a superficial account of my life and written by a woman who was wise in her own eyes. I needed to get to the point of knowing what Jehovah's ways are and that they're in Torah, the law, and then holding myself to that standard. I needed to walk out my faith in Yeshua so that I could reflect on the challenges he's brought me through and not think that I had some power of my own. My pride needed to be exchanged for humbleness. My hope is that these stories of my journey will shine a light for you and for others to find a relationship with our Creator. May you be blessed with revelations of truth for your life. And now to tell you a little bit about how I got into stories and story writing. I've been telling stories all my life. When I was a child, I would entertain the younger children with made-up stories. I remember once pretending to be a preacher, dramatically preaching like the Baptist preachers I knew and whooping and hollering. And then I would pass a collection plate around to the adults. And that was the best part. In my adult social circles, I was generally the one that people gravitated towards to hear the stories of what was happening. Even my husband's mother, Shirley, would call and ask specifically for me and ask me questions that she could have asked Floyd, her son. But my husband also has an out-of-town cousin who calls me and asks me questions about their family because she knows I'll give funny and descriptive information. In my educational and professional career, writing reports was always a large part of my job responsibilities. I started creative writing in January of 2011. I wrote an email to my natural health doctor about my anxiety associated with his 23-page detox protocol that included a coffee enema. He thought it was hysterical and asked to share it with his office staff and wife, and then I shared it with some of my family and friends. The feedback was enormously positive, and I gained confidence that I could write entertaining stories. I absolutely enjoy the process of telling the tale. All of my stories are true. They actually happened. When I write, I'm caught up in the stories as if they were happening now. My mind is reliving it in Technicolor. The challenge is to capture the pictures, the moods, and the people with words. I aim for the words to flow as if I were telling the tale and not have the words get in the way of the pictures forming in the hearer or the reader's mind. At the end of the day, when it's quiet, I've taught myself to reflect honestly on the activities of each day. In that reflecting time, I hope to see where I can become a better person. Sometimes it's hard to accept my responsibilities for the wrongs or disputes of the day. This is some of my private prayer time, too. I have found that when I look boldly at the person I was, I am, and hope to be, faults and all, there's humor as long as I continue to strive to better myself. As I said, all of my stories are true stories. I changed the names of some of the people in the stories. Obviously, my close friends and families know each other and can identify each other. However, my stories are about life, so I only give details about other people's lives that they have already made public. I stick to the truth of what really happened in my life. I try to give an honest account, regardless of the dumb, stupid things I did. The number one thing that I'm hoping is that someone else will learn from my mistakes. Second, I try to focus my thinking on my thinking that got me into those sticky situations and relate to the thinking to the first step down the slippery slope. Third, my faith forces me to weave each story with a lesson learned, a moral, a related scripture, or something that's on a higher level than just a story for the sake of laughter. Finally, I'm hoping that each story will cause my reader to self-reflect and seek answers to some of life's most important questions. What are the real rules for this life? Will I be held accountable for my actions? Who is my ultimate judge? I'm an author of stories that help readers to see that all of life is valuable, the good and the bad, when we learn from our mistakes. I was always thinking that I would need more free time to start writing. I was wrong. I just needed to start. I've come to realize that when you start, your passion will flow. You'll make time for those things you enjoy, and all the important stuff still gets done. The inspirational message that constantly spurs me to action with my writing is maximizing your talents. It's a teaching by Apostle Arthur Bailey. Arthur asks why Jehovah would trust us with spiritual gifts and power when we can't even manage the physical gifts he's already given us. I was convicted to use my writing talents to further the gospel. And also inspiration, too, from, this is a quote from Thomas Edison. He says, "You do something all day long, don't you?" Everyone does. If you get up at 7 o'clock and go to bed at 11, you put in 16 good hours. And it's certainly with most men that they've been doing something all the time. They've either been walking or reading or writing or thinking. The only trouble is they do it about a great many things, and I do it about one. If they took the time in question and applied it in one direction to one object, they would succeed. Success is sure to follow such application. The trouble lies in the fact that people do not have an object, one thing to which they stick, letting all else go. Success is the product of the severest kind of mental and physical application. Thomas Edison. So I hope you enjoy the journey that you will travel with me as you listen to my stories. Shalom.